boom, ever onward tribe. So I want to tell a story that I don't think I really put a lot of time into figuring out like what the lesson would be from this. You take from it what you want. This one hopefully might just be entertaining. But when I got to my first SEAL team, so you finish, this horrific crucible of getting through SEAL training, then you get assigned either to the West Coast or the East Coast SEAL teams. I went to the East Coast. When I showed up my first team, SEAL Team 4, the commanding officer, which if you're not in the military, the commanding officer is almost like the CEO. It's the top leader at a team that rotates out every couple of years. We're constantly moving through our careers, but your CO tour, commanding officer tour, is one of the most important. And when my commanding officer had come in, I'd just gotten the team, new commanding officer came in. He had come from one of our top tier commands, and in particularly their organizational or leadership command, which is called JSOC, Joint Special Operations Command. JSOC houses all the best operators and, some of the best warriors in the world, the best pilots, the best operators, the best, from Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, everybody's represented there. But it's a huge command that runs kind of the top mission forces in the world. And in that era, this is pre 9/11, if I can kind of think back to that time or maybe frame your mindset of this timing. But when he came back to our command, at that point across special operations, most of the leadership positions, the dominant force in special operations was the Army. The Army is just so much larger than all the other services basically combined. They have the most special forces related units and then just the most leadership, that they really had not a stranglehold, but they had tremendous control of a lot of the senior positions across Special Operations Command. This wasn't heartache, but my commanding officer was like, hey, I want my junior officers to start their career knowing the Army. So he sent a bunch of us to Ranger School. So the 75th Ranger Regiment, the Ranger battalions that fall under that banner or that tab they wear on their shoulders, is one of the greatest military units the world has ever produced. You can, I won't waste your time today, not waste, but I won't take time today. Look up the 75th Ranger Regiment, how far it goes back. I mean, there are principles and standards of performance that go back to like 1770s that still influence who the Rangers are today. Unbelievably fast, creative, quick, tough, phenomenal military unit. Ranger School is one of their very hard crucibles. Now, the thing that's interesting about Ranger School is not just Rangers or folks that are going to get to the Ranger battalions, the actual combat units go through Ranger School. Every infantry officer, even if they're going to another job in the Army, has to go to Ranger School. It's a joint course, so SEALs, Air Force folks, Marines, everybody can come in and do Ranger School. You get through Ranger School, you get a Ranger tab, which can go on your uniform. Doesn't mean you're a Ranger, just means you're Ranger qualified. But it's a tough course, and their method of kind of, I call it torture now. Nobody would accept that now, just language-wise, PC-wise. But their method in particular of beating you up is starvation, so you don't get fed much. You want to lose 30 pounds. Ranger School is the right place to go to do that. They only give you kind of one meal a day when you're in the field, so you're constantly hungry and broken down and mentally more than anything, emotionally broken because you just want something to eat. And the other thing is, the cold misery of hiking through tough mountains, tough country with a big old heavy ruck on your back. So that's kind of their system of making people quit and go away, and you're constantly being evaluated. But the biggest thing you would fear in not getting through Ranger School, almost every special operations course, if you're a good performer, is getting hurt, getting sick, and getting rolled. Now, I wasn't worried about not making it through Ranger School. I felt like when I got there after SEAL training, I was in a good spot performing at a high level, and I ended up being one of the honor graduates when I finished that course because I put so much effort into that. And one of the reasons that was the case is I got sent to Ranger School with 5 other guys that were all SEALs. They'd earned their Trident. I was so new to the team, I hadn't earned my bird yet, my Trident to actually be a SEAL. So I'm still kind of almost, even though I'm assigned to a SEAL team, almost a candidate. And the course I needed to take, like the 6-month course on the East Coast I needed to take, started 1 week before I would finish Ranger School if I made no mistakes. Now, they assured me if I get back in time, I get to go right in that course. But if I screwed up in Ranger School, I'd probably delay my goal of becoming a SEAL by 6-8 months. So I gave everything I had to get through that course. But somewhere in the kind of middle of Ranger School, I get something going on my chest. I get kind of a cough that's just productive and won't stop. you mask all that from the instructors. You don't want somebody to know you're sick, hurt, or damaged, because if they pull you, you're in trouble. I eventually go to, they had church services on Sunday. I went because I really enjoyed the peacetime. You also, for the offering, they'd give you one slice of white bread, and that was like triple the calories you would have eaten that day if you just have that piece of white bread. So the body of Christ, and you actually get to eat that thing. Very, very good deal for Sunday Mass. So I go over to that, and I start coughing during the service. The priest, the chaplain comes up to me, and as I'm like wiping my mouth, there's a little bit of blood. He sees it and he's like, "That's it, you're going to the hospital." I am so upset with myself that somehow I let that be seen. I probably have pneumonia. I go to the hospital. They check me out. They check my lungs. And it's a busy, busy hospital on this military base. So I remember there was a Ranger instructor. So he's the one that's kind of shuttling his back. He's out front by the truck waiting for everybody's adjudication, whether they're going to get pulled for the program, if they're ready to go back to training or what have you. But I remember I'm sitting in this, observation room or wherever they're looking at me. Doc comes in, listen to my lungs. He's like, "Hey, you got pneumonia. I got to pull you." I was like, "Sir, please don't pull me. I know this is real. I know my lungs are hurting. I know I can handle it. Like, I'm going to recover out there. My body's strong. I'm not falling behind. Just let me go back." He's like, "I can't do it." I was like, "What's the worst that happened?" He's like, "Well, pneumonia has killed people. You'll probably just pass out and end up right here." I was like, "Let me go pass out. Let me just go back." He's like, "I'm so sorry. I can't do it. You're getting pulled." And he walks out into the hall. I am beside myself. It's just like a gut punch knowing it was going to be another 6-8 months before I hopefully achieve my dream. As he's in the hallway, I hear ambulance lights pull up, and here comes somebody, right down the hall on a gurney. Who knows what the emergency is, but I see this doc running with them, and he heads off to deal with whatever that emergency was. A nurse comes around the corner, and she's like, "What'd the doc say?" And I don't even skip a beat. He's like, "I'm good to go, ready to go back to training." She's like, "All right, fair enough." She didn't know what the doc had said. He hadn't written anything down. So I was like, yes. She's like, "All right, hey, we got 2 more people we're evaluating. I'm going to give you back to the Rangers." They were kind of had a soft spot for the candidates because they knew how hard they were on us. She's like, "Hey, go into our little waiting area where the nurses hang out. You can hang out in there. Probably be about 20 minutes. We'll get you back out to the truck." I get in that waiting room, and I see fruit in a basket. I see some granola bars. I just start wolfing down food. I'm like, I'll come back and leave them a 20 when I get done with this course. I'm trying to take in as many calories as I get. The nurse comes back in, has this huge grin on her face, and she's like, "Hey, it's actually why we leave this stuff here. I thought I was in trouble." She's like, "Eat as much as you want." And when I'm leaving the room, she gives me a packet of peanut M&Ms. Okay, peanut M&Ms. This is important for the story. Now, if you get caught in Ranger School squirreling food away or hiding food, it can be grounds for having you removed for the program. It's cheating. Now, in a lot of basic training commands, they say if you're not cheating, you're not trying. That's not a great moniker to live by, but it pays dividends sometimes in these courses. So I get back to my squad. I get back out to the truck. They take me back out. We get out on a hike and a patrol. You break off in little squads on this. You got a 50-man company, and then I had a little squad of maybe like 6-8 guys. And I remember we all get in these little huddles to eat our food. And as everybody's going through it, everybody knows exactly the ingredients that's in an MRE. The military meals that we use to survive out in the field, and they know peanut M&Ms are not part of an MRE. And I break this thing out of my pocket, and of course I share it with my squad. Everybody gets 4 or 5 of these things. Another squad sitting next to us, I could see them looking over. They can smell the peanuts, and they know that doesn't come in an MRE, and I can tell them I'm looking over them like, don't say a thing to the instructors. Like, this just worked out to be a good deal. I hit legendary status at that point in the Ranger battalion or company I was in by giving away those peanut M's and sharing them with the troops. I guess if there's a lesson in this story, every once in a while, if you need to game the system or take an advantage, even when the chips are against you, take it. When that doc left the room, even though I was going to get pushed behind, I knew I was going to be okay. The nurse asked, "Hey, you good?" I said, "I'm good," and it worked out. Take advantages when you can get them. They won't always come your way. Ever onward.